Morning, everybody. What I want to talk about today is the concept of minimalization. There are people out there who are calling themselves minimalist, and I want to talk about what that is in reference to the spiritual concept of letting go of your earthly possessions, not allowing your things to own you, not having the attachment or the identity to things that you have. And the minimalist movement is kind of a watered down version of the spiritual concept of letting go. So I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit, and because people are getting themselves caught in that and thinking that they're becoming spiritual when they're not in that essence. First of all, the spiritual concept of cutting down on things that you own, in other words, not having more than you need, so to speak, really comes down to the idea of not allowing things to own you. In other words, not replacing your sense of self, sense of identity, your sense of worth with items and possessions and things. It doesn't have anything to do with how much you have. You can have a big house, you can have a fancy car, you can take trips, you can have all kinds of things if you choose to. The spiritual concept is simply not allowing those things to hold you, to as I said, place your identity with them, meaning that you could walk away from any of those things that you have at any time, and you're not going to feel devastated. Well, yeah, there are things that we might miss if we walked away from them, but the ultimate concept in the spiritual concept of it is letting go of the possessiveness, the ownership of these things, so that they don't have you, your identity. The minimalist movement is not taking it to the concept of not allowing the things to own you or having possession of them. What they have done is they've accepted the idea that if they simply get rid of excess that they have, cut down on the number of things, that somehow makes them a little more spiritual. But yet in reality, if you listen to some of the videos that they've made, you read some of the things that they're talking about, they are cutting down, but they're keeping all the things that have meanings to them, the things that are emotionally attached to them. And that's the difference between the minimalist movement and the spiritual concept of letting go, is that the minimalists are still keeping things that have emotional attachments and meanings to them, meaning they are still owned by their possessions. Now they may have less, but they're still being owned by them. And the minimalist movement is kind of like the New Age movement from religion, in that the people in religion who know that there's more beyond what they're being told and taught, they don't like so much of the rules and regulations, and they understand that there's more of a spiritual world out there, move into the New Age movement because it allows them more freedom. But yet they still get stuck in the paradigms that don't allow them to move more into a fully spiritual path of understanding who and what they are. It's kind of I guess you could say it's another level, another trap, another layer on the onion. And the minimalist movement, in comparison to the spiritual concept of letting go, is the same thing. It's for people who are having things now, thinking that cutting it down is somehow going to make them more spiritual, make them better, but yet they're still having the ownership of the thing. So they haven't really taken that step, but yet they're doing something that makes them feel like they really are. So just remember that the minimalist thing is a nice step, but don't get yourself stuck there and thinking that just by cutting down what you have is going to somehow make you more spiritual and allow you to move forward, because you are still allowing your possessions to own you. You still have that emotional attachment to things. And as I said before, the spiritual idea, the spiritual concept of that and within this reality is letting go of that emotional attachment to the things that you have so that you can move forward and you don't place your identity with those things. This is all now, I'm not going to go into more than that. That's enough for now. Thank you.